Change is the only constant thing in life. And life is all about that. I feel the compassion kind of meditations, the loving kindness meditations, the meditations where you drop into your heart, that then you start to connect with your feelings. And the emotional awareness, I think, is very important. And this is a journey. It's not something, oh, now I understand myself. Okay, great. I can go back to just being who I was. I like to say the journey is the destination. And that doesn't mean we won't experience sadness. And it doesn't mean we won't get angry sometimes or experience, but it just means that we feel.
What does day-to-day life in survival mode actually looks like? Saloni, welcome. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Sarah. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a treat, really. We met about... What? It's been 2 months now?
2 months now, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, 2 months.
And
yes.
I really was looking forward to reconnecting with you after the event we met at. So I'm pretty glad with it.
I know. It was nice. It was a nice event and it was a lovely meeting you.
Let me introduce you to the audience. You have a pretty impressive background. And once again, I was looking forward to having you here. You're an emotional resilience coach and founder of Internal Rhythm. You help women move from survival mode to clarity and confidence through meditation, breath work, and nervous system tools. Your mission is to help women trust their inner rhythm and turn emotions into strength during change.
That's lovely. Yes, that's a nice summary. Thank you.
I love it. I can't wait to learn more about what you do. But I really would like to hear more about who you are first. Saloni, who were you before you became an emotional resilience coach? And what in your upbringing shaped the woman you are today?
Wow, I am Indian. And so I've been brought up with meditation and yoga. And I grew up in Hong Kong. I grew up in Hong Kong, which is a lovely blend also of East and West. And I think that also has brought me to where I am today. It's this beautiful blend of the Eastern culture with somatic practices, joining of the heart, the mind, the body. And then at the same time, the Western culture, which is very focused on mindfulness, mental health. And so it's been always a lovely blend, I feel, my life. And Hong Kong was just beautiful, a beautiful place to live in. Have you ever been?
Not yet.
One day. And I will send you a list of amazing places to go to. I grew up in Hong Kong, spent my childhood there. I went to college in London. I then moved back to Hong Kong and then moved to the States. So it's been a lot of moving around. It's been a lot of lovely cities that I've went to. And my life has been filled with family and friends. And it's been lovely in that way. And it's been also focused on this Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism. So that's always been part of my life. And has always been something that's very special to me and has resonated with me from such a young age. In fact, after college, I went for a 10-day Vipassana meditation.
Can you tell me more about it? I'm not familiar with it.
It's a silent meditation retreat for 10 days. And you go and you're
heard of it, yeah.
Yes, the whole routine, the schedule is laid out for you. Everything is ready for you, and you're literally not able to speak. They don't want you reading or writing either. It's really about going within and being with yourself. And so that meditation, I think, really got me into this kind of work. And I was 21 at the time. And it was something I think I finished college and my parents wanted me to come back to Hong Kong. And I was like, but, would it be good to stay in London and to continue I studied graphic design. And should I continue that? And so I was a little confused about what to do, where to go in life. And then my friend told me, why don't you go to this meditation retreat I heard about? And it's 10 days and you'll be able to really relax and maybe introspection and some self-exploration will help you to decide what it is that you want to do. And so I didn't really read much about it. I just thought, wonderful. I signed up and I went, and it was
like the right thing to do.
Yes, it was the right thing to do. I think the first 2 days I was thinking, what am I doing? what have I done? 2 days to sit in silence is a little overwhelming, especially for a 21-year-old. And then all of a sudden, it was like this relief, this beautiful relief to not have to communicate and not have to talk and not have to not pretend, but at the same time, not just, try to be what society wants you to be or to act a certain way. And it actually felt very freeing. And every evening they also had a video where they would talk about certain philosophy. And I remember one thing I heard was that change is the only constant thing in life. And at 21, that stuck with me. And I think it stuck with me ever since. And so I realized life is flowing. And, I made the decision to go back home. I wanted to be with my family. And I also knew, but that also will change. And life is all about that. I think we go through life with little aha moments or a spark or your light goes a little brighter. Yeah. And I think that was one of my times. So that was a big part of me then realizing I want to get into yoga and breath work and meditation. And so I went to India after that. I worked in a graphic design firm for a while. And then after that, I thought, you know what, I want to go to India and study yoga, become a yoga instructor. And so I did that. I went to Kerala, South India. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I really want to take my daughter there one day. And yes, so that started my whole journey into yoga and meditation. And slowly from the meditation, it got into the emotional resilience. And yeah, so that's just a little summary.
That's a beautiful summary. It feels like you received a calling pretty early in life.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
It's
Definitely.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
I can pretend to have gone through the same path. I think I moved a little more into extremes, before I was able to find my center. And I feel that it's wonderful that you were able to connect with what you're meant to do and your mission at that moment. I hear that it also maybe alleviated a little bit of the stress of understanding what you were supposed to do in life.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think it started me on the journey, but there was still a lot of uncertainty. There was still a lot of confusion about, what was expected in life, what is not expected of me. Also, I think growing up in an Indian family, there are expectations, there's cultures. And so I feel this woke me up a little bit and had me maybe questioning, what is it that I kind of want? But at the same time, I was 21. I was still very still trying to figure out life, I guess. Right. Yeah. So I definitely didn't have things together at 21, but I do feel this. It put me on this path at least.
What made me say that is really the fact that you understood that life was all about change. I think that sometimes we want to have it together, but when you understand that things are going to change ultimately, it feels maybe the weight is a little less heavy than it was before to receive this information. I think we wanted to have, we want to have things figured out so much in society that it's amazing to be able to say, hey, you know what? Things might change and it's okay.
Exactly. That's this mind that wants to always control. And it thinks it's keeping us safe,
right?
By wanting to control everything and to know everything. It's taking care of us, but sometimes it's, or most of the time, is not taking care of us in the way that we need, and it can then it moves us into and maybe live in fear or this idea of rigidity and being stuck. Right.
Yes. So many people go through that as we speak. And I once again really wanted you to be here because I felt that, especially now that there is uncertainty in the world, people really need to understand change is okay. And here's how you can find clarity. You opened one of the first studios, like you mentioned, yoga studios in Hong Kong in 2001. I wanted to ask you, when you stepped into entrepreneurship, did you do it with excitement? There was an ounce of fear, not knowing if was going to work. What was your feeling at the time?
So my father is an entrepreneur. I come from an entrepreneur, a family that had its own business, and I think my community also, a lot of uncles and aunts. And so I think I just went into it thinking, oh yeah, this, of course, why don't I open up a studio and do this, and this will be great. I think it was after you open it and after you start the business that then I started being like, oh, wow, like I need to make these decisions. Exactly. I need to make these decisions, and these decisions are going to affect, and it's like, how do I make these decisions, and so I am blessed that I had my father to give me advice. And this is, I feel, where resilience is so important. And I think I learned about resilience at that time. I remember Hong Kong, SARS came out, which is very similar to COVID.
Okay.
And this was in 2003, I believe. And it was the same similar thing where we all had to wear masks, where we were told to not be in groups. And so I had opened up my studio a couple of months before.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I was teaching children, teenagers, as well as groups. And it was a small studio. And all of a sudden, parents didn't want to send their children or teenagers. They didn't want it. Everyone was separate, being separate and taking care, very similar to what we have just gone through in life. And that's when I was like, oh no, I've just opened this studio. What am I supposed to do? And so, the first 1 or 2 months, of course, everyone's careful, and then things start opening up, but still, everyone wants to keep their groups very small.
Yes.
And so I had to pivot and I had to change. And so instead of doing group, I had a lot of private clients. I started now saying, I started offering that as my business model and as something that, and a lot of people wanted that. A lot of people didn't want to go to a busy gym, but they still wanted to. Sure. And it was stressful also. So I kind of changed my business to more tailor-made, to more personal, to private sessions, whether it was a couple, whether it was a single person, an individual person, I mean. And then slowly, because of my relationships with some of the parents, they started saying, okay, if it's a small group of children. And so then slowly that started to, and even when later on, when big yoga studios started opening up, I just loved the idea of this personalization and this, yeah. And so I feel it taught me resilience. I feel it taught me, how to exactly go with the flow, how to change, how to work with other people. I shared the studio space with with a friend of mine who was teaching art. And so we would do art and yoga jams, and we would have also workshops for children in the summers and in the holidays where we would do a mixture of yoga and a mixture of art. And it was really fun. And so we also learned how to grow our business together. It was a special time. But yeah, so I would say it's a mixture of excitement and of course fear.
And fear as well.
Yeah, but moving through it in an exciting way.
You took it like a champ, because a lot of people can relate to your story with COVID, as you mentioned.
Right, exactly.
And
exactly.
A lot of people didn't make it. It was a hard time. The very fact that you were able to adjust, reconvert your business model and survive it was not a pandemic. I'm guessing it's an epidemic. How do you call it when it's on national level?
Yeah, so it wasn't national, but it did go to quite a few countries. But it wasn't as contagious as COVID. And I believe that's why it was able to, that's why we were able to contain it. And it didn't last for very long.
I wasn't aware of that at all.
Right, yeah.
But it's amazing. It says a lot about you and about your perseverance as well. Your need to wanna make it happen, and I love that about you. And it speaks also a lot about how much resilience, rather than anger or maybe the feelings that we want to, or ambition. We have the impression that we need a lot of that sometimes to overcome obstacles, whereas resilience is a beautiful quality.
Right. Yeah, I definitely felt all of that as well. it was definitely an eye-opening time. And it also made me realize, I think it was resilience, but it was pushing through. It was more that I was just pushing through. I don't think I was very aware yet of how to handle my emotions. So
And
that
experience
also,
taught you a lot.
and the experience taught me that, or made me realize that. Yeah.
What is the hardest personal transition you have experienced that require true emotional resilience? And do you see a difference in emotional resilience between the East and the West? I really wanted to ask you this question, by the way, when I was writing the questions for you.
Really?
It was really good. Yes, I wanted to see the perspective of if where you come from makes a difference.
Right. Yes, definitely. The first part, my hardest moment, I would say, in life is when my eldest daughter has special needs.
Yeah.
And the first few years of her life, and realizing, I think this reality hits you that it's like, oh, what you thought motherhood was going to be like, it's going to be different. What you thought the future was going to look like now seems a lot, very uncertain. And so I feel that was definitely a very hard time in my life, and how I required emotional resilience was, like I said before, when it was the studio, I feel it was more resilience, and it was more me, not really focusing on my feelings, kind of pushing it down, pushing through whatever needed to be done. And I think after that also, until my daughter was born, I think it was still like that. It was still like that with my life in other ways, relationships with people, my marriage, things like that. But when you see your child pushing through and suffering or not, you can't help but feel those emotions. Those emotions are very strong. I think at the same time, you want to feel the love.
Yeah.
I think before that, maybe there wasn't much emotional awareness, I feel, for me. I feel it was just, it's just in the body, and it gets pushed down and suppressed sometimes. And my meditation definitely helped me, the focused kind of meditation. It helped me to be patient, to be calm. But I feel the compassion kind of meditations, the loving kindness meditations, the meditations where you drop into your heart, that then you start to connect with your feelings.
Yeah.
And so I feel that is when I started realizing that, oh, I need to release this. I cannot be bottling this up. I need to, I kind of started getting control of my life instead of what was expected of me. It was more about me asking me, what do I need now in order to help her? I think that was the start of my emotional resilience journey, where it was the emotions matter, and the emotions are driving us, and the emotions are really what's making me wake up in the morning, the love for her. But at the same time, the difficulty or other parts of my life that weren't easy, this was what was driving my decisions. This is what was driving my energy and who I was. And yeah, so I definitely feel that is when I started to focus more on emotions and going within and starting to just get to know me. I don't think I knew myself before then very well.
How strong you are.
Right, the strength with resilience. But I feel you need to. You can be a very strong person, but if you aren't taking care of your emotions, and if you're just suppressing them, at some point you're going to blow up. At some point something's going to happen. At some point you're not going to, or it'll come out as disease in your body. Yes. So I think she's been a blessing. She's taught me so much. But at the same time, that was a hard transition in life.
I can only imagine.
Yes. And the East to West.
Yes.
I don't want to forget that. I love the East, where there's a lot of somatic practices with the East. Like, for instance, you have Reiki, you have mindfulness, you have acupuncture, you have yoga. A lot of it is focused on connecting the mind, body, the soul, they say, or the heart. There's a lot of importance in integrating every single part of you. I feel when growing up and living in London, also living in New York, Western is it's separate. Like there's mental health, which is very important. There's also physical health, like going to the gym or playing a sport. But that connection piece, I don't feel it is now. The world is changing,
More,
and I think
yes.
people are definitely realizing. So I'm talking about, I think, a long, long time ago. And again, it's a generalization.
I think we didn't have access to the information the same way. Now we have
Right.
social media.
Exactly.
People speak a lot more. Before, if you were not conscious that this thing existed, and you would never look for it, basically, if it wasn't available to you.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I think that bridge is now getting smaller.
Yes.
And we're starting to integrate it all, which is wonderful. But that difference before, I feel, was is the connection more of the East, connecting all of us together. That union, yoga is union, and the West keeping it more separate.
Yes, that's a very interesting point of view. It's we spoke about having cultural heritages, and I don't see any practices from prior to the main three religions, still being practiced today. And it's still something that I wonder at some point, why did we separate, the mind, body, and spirit in different institutions? And I love the fact that the East really kept it alive in their everyday customs. Basically, it's something that you're not feeling great, Chinese medicine, you have a great soup that can make something happen,
Exactly.
Here we really
Tai Chi was something also. I grew up watching that in Hong Kong, and it's beautiful because it really is a slow movement and it's really connecting all of it together.
I never tried, but I've seen many people doing it in Central Park, actually, and I was like, I've got to get on board.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Thank you for enlightening me on that.
That's how
question.
I see it. That's how I see it. Right.
It's when you speak about aligning your internal rhythm, I wanted to ask you that: is it a sudden awakening or more subtle shifts? And also, what was it like for you?
So internal rhythm to me is about what's going on inside.
Yes.
And again, it's touching on the emotions, because with emotions, we have highs and lows, we have waves of different flows. And so that's why I like the idea of rhythm when I was coming up with the name, and internal, because, everything is how we internalize it. The situation is what it is. Like how you view a certain situation and how I view it could be very different. I could be very upset by something, and to you it could be, that's not a big deal at all. That's wonderful. Yeah. And so really it's our internal perceptions and how we're viewing that really make whether we're feeling joy or whether we're feeling upset, whether we're suffering or whether we're living in peace.
Right.
And so that's why the internal part is very important to me. And I think it's a path, it's a journey that once you start having self-awareness, there are people in their 80s who are reacting still and who are completely unaware of who they are and why they act a certain way. And they're just reacting to whatever's just happening. Yes. And a lot of people now who are starting to look within and start to question, oh, why am I feeling this way? And they're doing that self-introspection and they're creating that self-awareness and the emotional awareness. I think is very important. And this is a journey. It's not something, oh, now I understand myself. Okay, great. I can go back to just being who I was. This is, I like to say the journey is the destination. And it's ongoing.
I love that.
And the minute you start on this journey, this is your internal rhythm, which is going to always flow. Again, change is constant. Yes. So it's always going to flow. But it's understanding what is your internal rhythm. I see it as we all have a state of being. We can experience moments of joy and we can experience moments of sadness. But what is our underlying state? Are we in a survival mode? Are we agitated? Are we angry? Are we negative? Are we low energy? Or is our base, our foundational state, one of joy, love, compassion, resilience in the way that of going with the flow, of having some level of faith or trust? And that is the internal rhythm that I see is important to get to understand what your base state is, and to try to make it a state of peace and love and compassion. And that doesn't mean we won't experience sadness, and it doesn't mean we won't get angry sometimes or experience, but it just means that we feel. I think to be human means we have emotions and we're supposed to feel.
Yes.
And so internal rhythm is that. It's everything. It's the emotions of feeling, but it's what is that underlying state that you want to be in while you're experiencing those joys and those sadnesses.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
I mean, I read about your work, but hearing you saying it gives more sense to the actual terminology that you used. I have
Right.
never perceived internal rhythm being a reflection of how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
I've mainly perceived it as this is how you ground yourself when things are not happening the way you expect them to happen, or you're battling with survival or with sadness or feelings that can turn you down, basically, your energy down. But I understand now that it's more about whatever is here,
Right.
is never being influenced by whatever is around
Right.
you, because
Right.
you've decided where you want it to be. So I love it.
Yeah. No, that's
That's
perfectly
it.
said. And that's the thing, because life is always changing. Life transitions is happening. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not great. I'm also divorced. I live far from my family. They all live in Asia. I have 2 daughters. My eldest one is special needs. So there's a lot of shifts that are always happening with that. Like a snow day, it changes everything.
Right.
She's in a wheelchair. It's not very easy to be going around in the slush and all of that. But that's the thing. It's like, do you want to wait for life transitions to happen that are not difficult before you start focusing on, okay, how do I handle this?
Yeah.
Or if things are going well in your life, great, but get into a state where when maybe things change, and again, it probably will, you have the tools to just help it make help make it a little easier, at least. Yeah.
I really love that. Many women feel out of alignment and they end up living in survival mode. I mean, everybody does, but I feel that women, because of the pressure of sometimes, having a family, keeping things together, it's sometimes stronger. What does day-to-day life in survival mode actually looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it. As women, we take on a lot, and it's this constant go.
Yes.
And so that overwhelming feeling is there to just always be doing something, always, and not just one thing. We're doing several things at the same time.
True.
I mean, I think we've become masters at that. And sometimes we're not comfortable asking for help. Sometimes we are. And so the survival way of living is this reactive way of living, where either we're reacting and we're exploding and we're just, trying to figure it out. Or I also feel survival living can sometimes be where we numb ourselves. And that's where addiction comes, right? Because we don't want to feel it. We don't want to feel the hurt. We don't want to feel the frustration. We don't want to feel, it's just too hard. And so then that's when addictions can come, whether it's drinking, whether it's just numbing out and watching Netflix, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
And I've definitely experienced that survival way of living as well. I think every woman has. And I think also, it's now, it's kind of going from an unconscious way of living to a more conscious way. Like sometimes I will be tired and my kids will be with their dad and I'll be like, you know what? tonight I actually do want to just sit and watch some TV. And I know I'm doing it because I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed, but I'm going to do it for this amount of time, and that's okay. And then I'm going to, go meet a friend or do whatever. And so it's just having this conscious, understanding of, okay, how am I feeling right now? And working with your energy. I think that also is really important. We don't want to stay in this low energy for so long. And again, it's fine to feel sad. And I think that's important to feel how you're feeling at the moment. I don't think suppressing emotions is healthy for any of us. But view it and feel it without judgment, without shame, and let it kind of run its course. I feel every emotion has a lifespan. And if we don't experience it and just let it then dissipate, then we're suppressing it.
Yeah.
And then that is what makes our inflammation happen, or disease, or, all these kind of things. That's what happens when I feel we're in a state of low energy and we're in a state of survival mode. I think self-care is super important. I feel there's this kind of surface self-care, which is really important, going for a massage, making time for yourself, going on a vacation, to the beach, sitting there, reading a book, meeting friends for a lovely dinner, being able to just laugh, or even just enjoying your coffee in silence. And I think all of that stuff is super important. But then I also feel there's this deep self-care where you really need to go within and understand yourself, and exactly, so that in those moments, or in your life, if it is very difficult or overwhelming, you start to take care of yourself at a deeper level, where you actually make certain shifts that maybe needed to be made. Or whether you are able to just in that moment realize, okay, I understand myself. I'm going to give myself some more loving kindness, some grace, which also I think as women, we're a little too hard on ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is something that everybody should do, but I found, for me at least, that having rituals helps a lot. So as soon as I feel overwhelmed or underwhelmed, or I know that something is happening in my body, I try to be very rational about it. I'm like, this might be hormones.
Exactly.
This might be, survival mode, or just, unsolved trauma. So what can I do to get over it without letting it really conquer basically my mind and my life? And I usually try to rent an Airbnb, in the woods, because I love nature. And
nature's the best.
Right. Or just different things, like you mentioned, spa, or, having this dessert that I really wanted for a long time. And I'm going to make it at home sometimes, even just to have the whole process of keeping my mind busy and then having the reward. Sometimes a small thing, sometimes a little bigger, depends on, what you feel like. But it has helped me reset.
Right. Yeah. And that's so important in the moment. We need that. That's why I incorporate breath work also. Because in the moment, when we're feeling overwhelmed, the breath is something that can help us. Or finding those moments when you're feeling that this week is so hard, but I'm going to pencil in one massage. That definitely is super important. And then there's this practice, I feel, that's also that goes into that deeper level of, okay, being that state, right? That state of peace and calm, of just understanding that, okay, life is difficult right now. What can I do? What can I see in my life that I can actually shift to make a bigger change, so that we're not living the same patterns and the same habits over and over again?
Right.
We also have to be able to change certain things in our life, which can be a little scary at times, but we have to be able to look at life and think, what can I change? What can't I change? That's another thing. So many things maybe we can't necessarily change, or, it's going to take a long time because of just the situation. And acceptance is something also that we need to be able to work with. We need to be able to say, okay, right now this is difficult, or right now this is just the way this is. I've done whatever I can to change it. I cannot change certain things. Now I need to accept. And that also is difficult for
and adapt.
Yeah, it's very difficult sometimes to accept certain things when you know that it could be better, or this could be easier, or someone that you love is getting themselves in trouble, and you're like, but I wish you could just, and sometimes you have to accept everyone's journey, and even your own journey. It might just be that I looking at the situation and I know mentally what I'm supposed to do, but my emotions, my nervous system is not letting me do it. So it's also giving yourself that grace at that time and saying, okay, that's okay then for now. And let's work with that. So I think all this deep level self-care also is super important. And that is the self-care of knowing yourself, of being consciously awake to who you are.
Right.
With non-judgment.
Exactly. Realigning whenever it's needed.
Yeah. Right.
In your coaching, what is the most common emotional block you see women struggle with?
This idea of am I enough, I think, is a big one. Am I enough? Am I good enough? It all boils down, I feel, when it comes down to the real core of it.
Yes.
Like when it's like, oh, I'm not being respected by this, or I'm not doing this, or whatever. It could be the reason or the situation again could be very different, right? The situation again, like I said, the situation to me could be very stressful. That same situation could be very pleasant for you. But I feel, from what I've noticed with a lot of women I've worked with, is this underlying, like, am I good enough feeling.
Where does that come from?
I think it comes from definitely our childhood. It comes from also a lot of expectations that are put on us in society, through our parents, through our teachers, through whoever our caregivers are. Could be again, we look at a situation and we think, for instance, growing up as a child, every time you get a good grade, your parents are super happy. And so you think, oh, in order to be loved, I need to have good grades.
Right.
That is what is gonna, this is a very small example, but then it becomes this idea of like, I'm not good enough unless I perform and I do really well in my grades and my career, in success is so important in that way. And so it could be anything. It could be, that's one example. But I think it all boils down to like, am I good enough just being me? Am I good enough, even if I fail? Am I good enough even if I said something that I wish I regret, but am I still lovable? Am I still enough? Am I still lovable in that way? Yeah. So I think I think we all experience that. I think we all have that. That's an underlying, and I've seen that be the core of even social anxiety comes from that. You're walking into a room, or even with your friend, some friendship groups or whatever. It's like, am I enough? Am I lovable? Is this going to be relationships also? If I wasn't acting this way, or if I wasn't helping in this way, if I wasn't this kind of partner, would they still love me?
Yes.
So it's this idea of, coming to this, you are enough just as you are. And sure, people may have expectations of you, but you are enough. And I think that I see that as being really the core of it, if we really want to get down to that.
Do you see it as being more of a female trait of character, or would you say that it's both? If it's both, okay.
I think it's both.
Genders. Okay.
I mean, I work with women mainly. I have worked with some men with my program, but I do feel, I think it's both.
Oh, wow.
In different ways, maybe, but I think it's both, because work and for a man, his position in society, and
we're conditioned to have this lifestyle that keeps us stuck in this. We need to perform.
Are you a provider? Are you again, I don't want to talk for, I haven't worked with that many men, but I do feel that again, I think it's something that we all, that's a shared male and female.
That's very sad.
Yeah, I think it's a human.
It's a human, yes. It's
and I think we're born knowing we're enough. I think we're born with that. But then I think just as growing up and with children, we start to realize, oh, I'll be loved if I'm being a little quiet, if I'm not being naughty, if I'm not being this way. Also, I need to I can't be my loud, expressive self. Otherwise, I'm going to upset this person or that teacher or something like that. And so then you start to say, oh, I need to act this way in order to be loved. I need to act this way in order to be, accepted. And so then, and this is where I think then these feelings come.
Right. And it compromises your authenticity. So it's
Exactly.
it's a terrible feeling of sadness that everybody feels on a daily basis, not being able to be who they want to be.
Right.
Yes, I hear it.
Right.
And I was going to ask you, but
yeah,
I feel that it might be very connected with my previous question. Do you see trauma patterns connected to culture, race, or social status showing up in emotional resilience work?
Yes, I do. Again, it's to do with childhood. I have read.
I figured.
Yes, I have learned that the first 7 years is what kind of shapes our nervous system. So a lot of times we're not even intellectually conscious of why we feel a certain way, right? Why we don't maybe feel enough, for example. But it could be so many different things. But our nervous system reacts, right? Public speaking is a great way for, I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of people intellectually, they may know exactly what they're going to talk about. They've practiced it in front of the mirror, in front of friends, in front of family 100 times or whatever. And then they go up on that stage and they start to shake or sweat and their body is reacting. So that's our nervous system. And that between the first 7 years also of our lives, that is being shaped. That's the foundation. Our nervous system is being shaped in that way from these little messages that we're getting. And trauma could be a big trauma, it could be a little trauma, it could be, it could just be that exactly you were that child who came in with a bad grade and then your parent got upset and all of a sudden that was your nervous system. Now you get nervous every time your grade is not, or you're not performing as well in work, let's say. And so I think whatever society, whatever culture you come from, we're all as human beings getting these little messages being told to us growing up, and our nervous system is developing from that. And then exactly, you could be a 30, 40, 50-year-old person in front of that stage, on that stage in front of all those people. And it's that little 5-year-old or that little 6-year-old that is getting nervous because I need to be perfect. I need to be, I need to show that I know what I'm saying. And that's the nervous system.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it doesn't matter I think it's a human condition. I don't think it's a cultural where one culture is less than another. I think one culture can be more demanding of a child or have more expectations. So I think that's where it can play into, maybe one culture is a little bit more a certain way compared to another culture. But the idea of our nervous system and who we are and our resilience, and as well as our trauma or our difficulties in life, I think that's a human condition.
That's a human condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can somebody adapt to those trauma? I mean, that the traumas they had, and the struggles, the patterns that keeps on showing up in their everyday life. Yeah, I mean, so what did we need as a child? We needed to feel safe, to be who we were, who we were, right? We wanted to be safe. You see that 2-year-old running around and being all wacky and whatever, and then as they get older, it's like, you can't behave like this, you can't be like this, you can't be like that. That's one thing for sure. It's this idea of, if I am being a certain way, I won't be accepted. Right.
And I think that comes in the same way.
Should we be content with who we are without trying to make everybody love us to feel safe? Or
exactly, that's we need to now give to ourselves.
Okay.
Like we needed that maybe so a child wants to feel loved, wants to feel accepted, wants to feel safe with whoever they are with. And again, you could come from the most loving family and the best parents, but because of certain messages we got of how to act a certain way or how to be a certain, we start to feel a little unsafe to be ourselves. Right. And that happens also with society. We go to school and we're told to act a certain way, or you could have parents who are like, do whatever you want, be who you are. I want you to be free. I love you. And then you go to school and you're told to act a certain way. And this is the way to be, so it's not necessarily also just home. It's so many different environments. And then maybe we start to feel a little unsafe to be ourselves. I cannot be myself or I'll be judged. I cannot be myself or I won't be accepted or I'll be, I won't be treated a certain way. I won't be respected. And so it's that feeling of safety that's what we need to start giving ourselves. Do you feel safe with yourself? Yes. Even how you talk to yourself. Do you feel safe in your own body with your own inner dialogue? Or are you yourself critical of yourself?
Yes. Yeah. No.
Right. So it's So this is why I'm all about creating this relationship with yourself, befriending yourself. Right? Become your friend again. Yes. We know our friends better than we know ourselves, I think, a lot of the times. If our friend comes up to us and say, I don't understand why this is happening, or I don't understand why I'm being treated this way at work or whatever. And you could probably say to your friend, well, maybe it's because of this, or maybe it's because of that, and they'd be like, oh, I didn't realize that. And then, but when it comes to helping yourself, you're totally confused. You're like, I don't understand why this is happening. And so it's that self-awareness that's so important. How are you even with yourself? Do you feel safe with yourself?
Do you feel safe with yourself? Yes.
Yeah.
And also not being too disappointed. I'm feeling sometimes in yourself when you're not performing the way you wish you could. Like you said, it's sometimes there are external factors and it doesn't depend. Yeah. It's not up to you sometimes, but it's more about how you handle the situation that is going to define, how much you will give yourself grace, love yourself, and grow from it at the end, right?
Exactly. And like I said before, I mean, it's something that an ongoing practice, right? The journey is the destination. Yes. So this is an ongoing journey. And we're all going to slip sometimes. We're all going to react instead of act. We're all going to go unconscious sometimes instead of being conscious in that moment. We're all going to have those moments where we feel, oh, I could have handled that a little bit better. Or I could have, or definitely it's going to happen to all of us. And in that moment, how are you with yourself? Are you nice to yourself? Are you kind to yourself? And then this is how safety starts. This is how safety grows. And then you start to be like, oh, okay, we're all human. And this is where empathy is so important. Because if I can see this in myself, that means I can see it in you too. You also want to be accepted. Yes. You also want to be loved. You also want an easy life. You also want to be happy. We all want that. We all want to feel safe in our lives. And so if we start to see that from, if I meet someone who would normally intimidate me, but then I realize, well, that person also has moments of insecurity or has moments of, questioning their place in this world, or their place in their friendships or their family or whatever. Then you start to realize like, oh, okay, I feel more safe now because I'm not alone. And again, that's a human experience.
Yes, you develop more sympathy for the person in front of you rather than finding, adversity in a person who is more confrontational.
Exactly. This is where I feel empathy is so important. And that's why, like I say emotional resilience, but I say it with compassion. Yeah. And I think compassion is vital. I think that is kind of encompasses all the work that I do, is that compassion for yourself and compassion for others. And this non-duality. This non-duality, we're so much more similar than we realize.
Wow. Yeah. Listen, this was a beautiful, beautiful answer, especially in these times, once again, of uncertainty when it comes from, we are very divided. That's a fact.
We are.
And we really need to hear more of that.
It's such a pity. And I think our differences should be celebrated.
Yes.
And it should, but our core hopes and desires and our core, our cores are just, that's all the same.
Yes.
That's
Well,
all the
thank you
same.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you also, what is the difference between emotional regulation and emotional suppression?
So emotional regulation is exactly that. It's like, okay, I'm I'm starting to feel some trigger, some discomfort inside of
Mhm.
me. But I understand now because I'm aware of my emotions. So it's kind of having that emotional intelligence. I'm aware that I'm feeling this because of this belief that I have or this habit that I have that I know is not true,
Mhm.
and it's regulating that. So it's understanding like, okay, I'm feeling this emotion. I'm going to sit with it. If you don't have time to sit with it in that moment, that's where the breath comes in to help you in that moment when you're feeling those emotions bubbling up. And then later on, go back to it though. A lot of the times we may use our breath to relax but we don't go back to actually evaluate, why did this happen? Why did this even upset me? We don't go back to that. And it's those moments of understanding yourself, then you're able to regulate yourself, because then those discomforts aren't as strong as they are when you start to understand where it's coming from.
Right.
So emotional regulation is that, is understanding your emotions, is being able to come back to that baseline, that state that I said, right? That state of love. And if you're in that more of that state and you get to that, you're able to come back to it faster. Emotional suppression is like it's imagine a cup of water, and the cup is our body, and the water is the emotions.
Mhm.
And every time something hard is happening and your emotions go up, it's filling up that glass of water. And if we don't later on, even that evening or at some point, go to feel that emotion, like I mentioned, I feel every emotion has a lifespan. If we don't feel that emotion, where we're in a way, emptying that glass, and we're suppressing it, so that glass keeps getting fuller and fuller and fuller, because we're suppressing those emotions. We're not letting them leave the glass. We're not letting them empty the glass. Then it'll come to a point where one little thing can happen that's so
Mm.
minute and not a big deal at all, but that is the drop, or the 2-3 drops, that makes that water overflow, that makes that glass, that water flow out of the glass. And then that's when the eruption happens. That's when the anger happens. That's when, like, survival mode is everything's suppressed, everything's inside. And I am literally like, any little thing that happens, it's just too much, because I haven't gone to empty that glass, to focus on those emotions, to understand them, to deal with them, and to release them.
Yeah.
And that's also where chronic disease comes in, because
Right. You
we're
mentioned that a
keeping
little earlier. Yes.
we're keeping all of that blocked in our body.
Wow.
So regulation is being able to do that, empty that glass.
Yes.
And suppression is where you're just keeping it in the glass, and you're not releasing it, you're not acknowledging it, you're not aware of it. And that's where you end up in the survival mode.
So you have to come back to it. You have to self-reflect on what happened and try to understand, make it make sense. So
Yeah,
next
yeah.
time when it happens, you won't react the same way, right? You can't just say, I'm going to let it go. Like Mel Robin was saying, let it go.
Well, it's let go, but it's
Let
feeling.
go.
I do.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's definitely important, but it's let go. Why, after you have felt it? I think
Okay.
that's what, because then the suppression is you just keeping it in, you're just letting it go and not really sitting with it. That's not empty. That's not leaving the glass.
Okay.
But when we sit with the emotion and we feel it, and so this is where I have also noticed is, we can talk about things and we can understand ourselves, but we then have to go to the nervous system, and in order to make the nervous system safe, we have to meet it with emotions. The talking to our nervous system, like, again, going on stage and about to speak, and you saying to yourself, calm down, it's okay, you know this, it's okay, it's not working. But if you start to feel this sense of, okay, I know you're upset. I know not upset, but I know you're nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit with you and I'm just going to give you some love. And I'm going to tell you that it's going to be okay. And you do have this, you're going to be great. But I'm going to feel, instead of talking, you just sit quietly and just observe. Just observe the fear and meet it with compassion. And you will see it will slowly start to dissipate. And so you're meeting the emotion with another emotion. And that is where, that is what then helps you calm the nervous system. That is what helps you empty that glass.
So you replace your survival instinct by a safe space. And so each time it shows up again, you have that safe space already set up for it.
You want it to feel safe. Like a friend. Yes. When a friend is upset, sometimes they don't want you to talk to them and reason with them and tell them. Sometimes they just want a hug.
Yes.
That's exactly what this is. They just want a hug. They just want you to sit with them, next to them, and maybe just hold their hand. And that's all they want. That's all they need at that time. And it's basically you doing that to yourself.
Okay. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. It's it's like you mentioned, emotional intelligence, and this podcast was exactly what we're doing today. It is explaining to people why it is important to have somebody like you to guide them. Sometimes we really think, and me, I'm the first one to be like that I have it all together and I'm going to, overcome everything like I always did and it's going to be okay. But we all end up sitting with ourselves at some point sometimes and feeling broken inside. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Well, it's just important to sit with it.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay to feel that because we're human.
Yes.
We're human. So I think it's more about like, oh, I'm just feeling down today and that's okay. Let me sit with this and let me be curious. Let me not try and analyze. Let me just be curious why I feel this way. Like just as in curious with the feeling.
Right.
And just sit with it and observe it.
But we really need somebody like you to say it out loud and to say to us. I know because I'm on survival mode all the time. I'm like, go. Don't think about it. Go. It didn't happen. Go.
Exactly.
Make it go away by going faster. Exactly.
Yes.
If you run fast enough, it's going to be behind you. So you
exactly.
You did beat the thing. So that bothered you. But the thing is,
it comes back in different ways.
It comes back in different ways.
You can run away from a situation that you don't like, but it will come back. Life has a way of doing that. It'll come back through another person, through another situation, but it'll come back. Yes. Because it's something that, you need to work through.
Yes. Yeah. And I prefer your methodology rather than, for example, therapy, just because there is a way out.
Right.
Emptying your bag and your emotion in the office space with somebody who's listening to you, even explaining why you might feel that way. When you go back home, I don't feel that you have the tools to survive the next big challenge, emotional challenge you're going to face.
Yeah.
Whereas you are really, setting people for success when you're teaching them how to handle these challenges on their own.
It's release it from the body. That's why the somatic work is so important.
Yes.
And that's where the breath work, the breath work in the moment to help you in that moment so that you're not, getting to that destructive kind of emotions and way of being. But breath work afterwards also can help to release this from your body.
Okay, so breath work and meditation. What if someone tells you meditation doesn't work for me? What are they likely doing wrong? Or what do they need to do to practice meditation the right way?
I think meditation is about coming to the present moment. And I think there's this misunderstanding that meditation means I have to sit completely still and I have to not move and I have to be, totally quiet down my mind. And that is meditation. Meditation is, bringing yourself back. So even if, your mind wanders, every time you bring it back, you're meditating.
Yes.
And again, it goes into that no shame, no blame kind of situation where it's okay that your mind wandered. and we're bringing it back. And then the other thing with meditation is, because there are some people who can't sit still. There are some people who, need to move around, or it's very difficult. There are so many styles of meditation. There's walking meditation.
Mm.
There's where you actually go and you walk and you're completely aware of your foot touching the ground and each step and each movement. And again, you're staying in that present moment.
Yes.
And then there's also meditation where, like loving kindness, compassion meditations that I do. It's a meditation of just being aware and observing how you feel. So you're observing those feelings and you're dropping into your heart instead of being in your head.
Yes.
You're dropping into the energy of your heart, your center. And that's another type of meditation. There's so many different styles. So I would say first, don't think you can't do it, because you definitely can. You just maybe haven't found the right one for you. And I definitely think that the focus meditation is important, like focusing on your breath, or some people focus on, a saying, a mantra, or something like that. But I think what's more important is also just sitting with yourself and just being present, and that being in the moment to moment, and not, because when we think, sometimes if we're thinking then of the past, usually, right? Something that happened that we wish didn't happen that way, or it could be regret, or it could be something that you're wanting to go back to, or we're thinking of the future, what we want, what we don't want. But living in the present moment, that's the only time that we're actually living, and it's the only time that we can actually make a change in our life. Because if we're repeating the same patterns and habits from our past, then our future is going to look exactly the same. But the moment, in that present moment, we make a decision to say, oh no, wait, I want to change this. Or this, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to react like this anymore. I'm not going to do this. Or, this person normally triggers me in this way, but I'm going to try now to realize, like, okay, in this situation, maybe this person doesn't mean it in that way. Or it's something that I'm bringing back. Emotions have memories, right? The same way you listen to a song and it brings back a lovely memory, or it brings back, it's like, oh, I can't listen to the song anymore.
True, yes.
Right? It brings up an emotion, and that emotion is linked to a memory that we have. And so when you're thinking of the past, or you're acting in the same way of the past, it's because of those memories that are bringing up those reactions. But if you look at the situation that's happening in that moment as just, this is a new situation, and try to see it for exactly the way it is, then you can start to maybe make a little shift in how you would normally react to something. That is when you start to actually act, and that is when you actually see change happening in your future. So meditation is about just be present, and you could do that by taking a walk. You can do that even with cooking. It could be a hobby that you love, and that could be, in a way, you starting to meditate. Where it's like, you focus on the present moment. You play a game of tennis that you absolutely love. And then that hour just flew by, and you were so focused and you just loved it. You were in that present moment and you absolutely loved it. It could be anything like that. And so that's a good way to just see meditation in that way. Let me just try and be present as much as I can.
Be present. It's not be quiet and emptying your mind. It's being present.
It's being present, observing those thoughts. Again, there's so many different kinds of meditation. And so it's really exploring. There's so many apps out there that you can explore and see what kind of meditation works for you. There's walking meditations where you can actually go and start walking. And so, so the first thing I would say is, don't think you can't do it. You definitely can. It's the same way as someone going to the gym and lifting up weights for the first time. They have to start, small, and then they can get to the heavier weights.
Yeah.
We're building the muscle. So you're building, this idea of being present. You're building this alertness. You're building this awareness. Because before, your mind's been going left, right, center, all over the place. And it's been doing what it wants. And now you're telling it to quiet down and come and stay just here. And it's like, no, I want to think about something that happened last week, or I want to think about something that I want to do a month from now. Or, it's like, no, I don't want to sit here. This is boring. But this is where change happens.
Right.
This is where transformation happens.
It's an incredible, incredible answer. I have never perceived meditation the way you just explained it. And I'm really hoping that the audience will understand how much you have to offer, because I really want to dive into the program you offer right now. And you have a 9 to 12 weeks coaching program. And I wanted to ask you what it looks like and how do you work around each person's lifestyle needs?
Yes. So I say 9 to 12 as in, I like to talk to the person first. This is for one-to-one coaching. And we go through what it is that they're struggling with, what it is that they hope to gain from this emotional resilience program. And I usually focus on the main keys. So one is first that self-compassion. What is your relationship with yourself? How do you see yourself? How do you view yourself? How do you talk to yourself? Like basically just what is your relationship with yourself? So we're creating that self-awareness and we're creating that emotional awareness as well. How do I feel about certain things in my life? And then, so that's very important. And that's a part of the first part of the program. Understanding first stress. How do you relate to stress? How do you see, difficulties in your life? How do you react to it? And then it goes into a little bit of the inner childhood work, right? Because we need to now understand the nervous system. How are you coming up? How are you turning up in your life? What is your nervous system doing? What is your nervous system? How is your nervous system making decisions for you and making you act a certain way? Right. And so there's work in that as well. So again, it's all about that relationship with yourself. From breath work, from stress, so the immediate relief, and then from nervous system getting deeper into really understanding, okay, how can I really shift these patterns and these habits? And then we go into then the self-compassion, like let's now create a new relationship with ourselves. Let's actually have that compassion. Let's be kinder to ourselves. Let's have that loving kindness. And then the program kind of shifts to the resilience part. So that's why it's kind of like the emotional resilience and the internal and the rhythm, right? So it's like first we focus on the internal, the emotions, you. And then we focus on the compassion for others and your life and how you approach life and how you live your life and resilience. So being, how are you very stuck in your ways? Can you be flexible? How do you normally handle adversity in your life? And so then we look at that, and then we look at also how do you communicate? What are your relationships with people? Yes. How do you want them to be? And so this is, and the one thing also I work a lot on is your energy, because what we vibrate, the level of the frequency that we vibrate at is what we're attracting. This is what manifestation really is about. And so that resilience part and that external and the rhythm part is all about what kind of rhythm do you want to be, right? Do you want to have that energy of positivity, love, compassion? Then that is what you're going to attract into your life. So it's kind of like internal, external also in a way. And so we end the program more in that way. It's like, okay, now that you're more connected to yourself, how do you want to turn up in your life? And it's not about being selfish at all, because when you start having compassion for other people in your life, you start making decisions where, again, it's that empathy. We're all the same. We're all connected, that non-duality. Right. And so then it's like, okay, this decision, yes, I have to think about me. That self-compassion is important, but how can it work with the people in my life too? Right. And then there's just this harmony that comes out of living. And again, yes, there will be hard times, and there are times where I'm like, oh, shouldn't have said that or shouldn't have done that. But having that self-awareness just makes you realize, like, okay, this happened because of this. So now I'm going to try to work on it so it doesn't happen again. Yes. And so you go from there. And so the program is kind of designed in that way. To help you. And then after that, when you finish the program, then it's like I have some clients who are like, a month later, it's like, can we just have a session? I just need a little bit of a refresh. Yes. And I like that, because I like the idea of, I hope to give you tools to figure this out on your own. Right. And so I teach different meditations, every module, different breath works. So you could leave with a number of meditations and breath works that are exactly for you, tailor-made for you and what you need. And so then you can go back to those at times when you're feeling also. So you kind of leave with a library of tools of what you can do. And I want to teach a person how to fish. I don't want to just give them the fish. So
That's wonderful.
yeah. So that's how the program is. And then I've started in New York City now doing group workshops.
Yes.
Because
right.
because my life still is like, I am a mother, I have a special needs daughter. There are times where things are difficult or things are demanding, or my time I need to, with appointments and evaluations and things like that, her therapy. And so I started realizing, I was like, I would love to reach more people. I'd love to create a community of women to come together. It doesn't matter where you are in your life, what decisions you've made, whether you're a mom, you're the CEO, whatever it may be. We're still experiencing life as women.
Yes.
That experience is still the same. We still have to make choices. We still have to figure out something we want to focus on one thing, something else we'll have to give. That's just the experience of being a woman. And so there's this idea of community that I'm really hoping to develop, and that I am slowly developing. And it's through these group workshops. So these group workshops are kind of like my modules, but made into a group workshop that could work for everyone. So it's not as tailor-made to you, but it does touch on the different things, the different topics. And they've been really lovely to do. And they're in person, because I love the idea of now, meeting in person and creating this community and being together. And so they're in person. And so that also is really great if you're in New York to come and do that. They're for women. And I may actually start doing them online too, for like women around the world. So it's growing. This is, it's growing, and it's exciting time. It's a really exciting time.
Yes, it's exciting. And it's exciting that you're opening the door to women who would like to get acquainted with what you do before to step into having going through the full program.
Exactly.
Yes.
They can come and get a taste of it and see if this is something they would like to do. So that also is my way of, trying to share this.
Awesome.
Yes.
Saloni, how can we reach out to you?
I have my website, internalrhythm.com. I have Instagram also, which is internal.rhythm. I couldn't get the internal rhythm. It was already gone. But it's internal.rhythm. And all my details are on both of those, links to the different group workshops. I also do private workshops now. So it's, a group of friends can get together, whether it's for a birthday, a baby shower, a bridal shower, whatever. It could be something fun, or just a celebration to just be all together and connect in a different way. Because I'll head like the kind of conversations. And the group workshops are special because you do breath work, you do a meditation. So it's kind of self-care. Mm-hmm. It's first going within. And then like my program, then we end it with, also like just conversation, just honest, real conversations. And you share if you want to, you don't, there's no pressure, there's none of that. It's just, you just come, you sit on the floor, you sit on a chair also. It's very relaxed. And it's just to get in touch with yourself a bit.
Very exciting. Well, I encourage everybody who is listening to us today to reach out to Saloni. And I will add I will add your information in the description down below. Yes. For me, it has been eye-opening. I was telling her that in private, that there is a lot that I learned today. And I honestly have a lot of conversations, and I don't always expect to learn something new. I feel that sometimes I learn something differently because each guest is different, but this time it was really something new for me. It was new about the meditation part. We were supposed to have the somatic, the breath work going on today, maybe, but we ran out of time. It's all good. That means you have to go and try it with Saloni, because you really wanna get going with having those life-saving steps that can get you out of all the frustration you've been going through and felt stuck into. And sometimes it's as simple as being able to manipulate your own, body into, like you said, manifesting the best in your life. And you need somebody like Saloni, to help you do it intentionally.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much. It was amazing.
Thank you, Sarah.
And I love having you here.
That means a lot, you saying
it's
that.
The
and
truth.
Thank you for making me feel safe. You've made me feel very safe and very comfortable to speak. So that that also as you as a podcast, with your questions and everything, like your energy also is just so lovely. So thank you too.
Appreciate you. Thank you so very much
that
for
means a
saying
lot
that.
as well. It really means a lot.
We're spreading a lot of love. I love it.
Yes, love and beautiful energy out there.
All right, wonderful.
All
Thank you
right.
everybody for being with us today.